Hi there. In a world where nothing is certain, that means anything is possible, right? If you want to fulfill your dreams and desires, you are in the right place. You absolutely can have a life of happiness. Everyone deserves an abundance of love, laughter, success, health, and wealth. I'm Tara Chadzakis, and you're listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. The show that brings you meditation, mindset, and motivation. So start by giving yourself permission to be awesome. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So, hi, my lovelies, and welcome to this episode of Happy, Inspired, Motivated. Today, I have the lovely Nikki Collinson-Phenix on the show with me today. How are you, Nikki?
I am really, really good, Tara. I'm so happy to be here. It's a shame it's so rainy outside, but it's really lovely inside, isn't it? So it's great to be here.
Yeah, if we're inside, we're at least we're dry. But I do love the sound of the rain, I have to say. I was stood outside this morning with my coffee under like the gazebo thing we've got, just listening to it. It's just really relaxing.
It is. And I'm in my attic, so I'm getting it on the roof. And I have to say, I do like it. As long as it won't send me to sleep, it would be good.
Yes, I have.
It is my son's not wet noise. My son's white noise for when he's struggling to go to sleep.
I have the same one actually. Yeah, I do. I play like a rain one when I want to sleep and I'm struggling a little bit. Yeah. And I think it came from when I was younger, we used to have a caravan. And when we had it in the back garden, if it was raining in the winter, I used to sit in there and eat my sandwiches.
You know what? We've got to be really grateful because we've been absolutely so lucky with the weather lately. That I'm kind of good with the rain. My grass is happy, my plants are happy. You know, I'm trying to embrace it, that it's really good.
Yeah, it is. The plants need a water as well, don't they? And you live on the Isle of Wight as well, the same as me, which is really cool.
I do. I'm just up the road from you.
Were you actually born on the island or did you move here?
No, I am born and bred. I was born at St Mary's Hospital and I went to school here. And like a lot of islanders who were born here, at some point we feel restricted. We feel a little bit like, oh my God, get the head off of here. And we go. And so I've been on the mainland. That's proper island speak. I've lived on the mainland. I've lived abroad for several years. And then when I had my children and different life circumstances, I came back here about 7 years ago with a whole new appreciation of just how wonderful this little place is.
I actually moved here 7 years ago too, so that's quite.
Did you? Oh, perhaps I'm actually still in the house. It's my very first house that I bought 25 years ago, because even when I went off to do my exploring of life, I was never going to get rid of my house. So
that was a very wise choice.
Yeah. That's the ex-bank manager in me. I came back. I came back into my original house, which just really felt like you were coming home, you know?
Oh, I bet that was really nice, actually. Yeah. So what did you used to do then? Where did you get started in your journey, your career journey, I guess?
Well, it's a funny one, really, because when I was at school, I was definitely not. I realized that I felt like I was destined to do something kind of really, I don't say big, that sounds a bit vain, but I didn't feel like I was someone that was meant to be just in a 9-to-5 job. I wanted more, but I didn't really know what that was. And I wanted to make a difference. And I didn't know what that looked like. What I did know was that I wanted to be a vet. That's what I wanted to be, I wanted to be a vet. Mm-hmm. But I had some quite challenging life circumstances during my A-levels. And it was very apparent I was not going to be a vet. So then I was like, well, I don't really know what I'm going to do now, you know, because that's kiboshed that idea. Yeah. And I was at that time when, you know, the older people were saying, you need to just get a good, secure
steady job.
Just get a good, steady job. And whilst I rebelled that internally, I didn't have another plan, because my plan for being a vet had gone out the window. Yeah. So I went and got a job in the bank.
Nice.
Good, safe job in the bank is at the time. But what I did manage to do was I realised at that point that I had a bit of gift of the gab, and I managed to get myself on a graduate program when I was not a graduate at all. I was fresh out of A-levels. Ooh. So I managed to get myself this fabulous load of interviews in London and got offered a position as a management trainee, which basically meant I was fast-tracked. So I started on the Isle of Wight and then thought, well, do you know what? This is all right. It's not too bad. I'll stick it out till I find my thing. And started on the Isle of Wight, went to Southampton, then took a promotion down to Brighton, became a manager down in Brighton. And I actually quite enjoyed it because I was able to help people. When I was a manager, people would come in some terrible financial circumstances. And at the time with banking then, I was able to genuinely help them. It wasn't a computer said no setup then. It was heart-led banking and helping people. Everyone was in-house. We didn't have big call centers. The call center was the floor above. Everything was very personal and human. I loved that. So actually I quite liked it until it changed, until it became about sales, until it became about targets. And once that shifted, I saw a whole different side to banking and I felt unethical. It felt uncomfortable. And I was like, I need to get out of here, but I didn't quite know where. So I ended up at American Express. I thought, well, I've got a financial background. I'll go up there. That was the biggest employer in Brighton after the council. And ended up there on a really amazing European new business manager, fabulous thing, looked great on paper, hated it within 24 hours of being there.
Oh God, that's quick.
Really, like there's a picture I've still got somewhere of my security pass that had my photo, and I'd been in the building 12 hours and I was like, I'm having this picture going, I hate it here. I had like a 10 grand pay rise, which was huge 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not what I meant to do, because all I'd done is gone from retail banking to global banking. All I'd done was taken retail targets to global targets. And I was like, I hate it. This is not what I meant to be doing. And that sent me on the path of like, I need to work out what I'm doing. And it took me about 2.5 years of utterly hating my job, feeling physically sick going to work, being off for 3 months of burnout. The hours I was expected to put in, my contract said you will get paid for 36 hours, but you will work the net hours to meet the needs of the business. I was regularly pulling.
That's a good clause, isn't it?
I know, what a bunch of buggers. And I was regularly working 80 hours. I had a drawer full of Red Bull. I lived on Pro Plus. I couldn't cope and I burnt out. And I was like, get me the hell out of here.
Yeah.
So one day I was in Brighton and I'm walking back to my flat. And after another disillusioned day, and I remember exactly where I was in Brighton, and I had this thing, I'm going to be a chiropractor.
It's very random.
And it was random, but there is a little bit. My background is horses. So in amongst all of this, I'd had a lot to do with horses. I'd had horses. I competed with horses. And I'd also had a car accident that had started off a trigger of back pain and back problems. And I'd had chiropractors out to my horses over the years.
Okay.
And I was always fascinated by what they did. I was fascinated by the fact of how chiropractic had helped my back. And I was really fascinated by the fact that there was this really cool profession that could actually help. And it's like I went round the houses and had this so powerful epiphany. Like it literally was like, that's the one. And then I went and looked into what I needed. I was like, I'm going to be a veterinary. I just want to treat the horses. That was my passion. Then realized that I would need to treat people first. I was like, well, actually, I really like treating people. That's really cool. There's very few professions you can treat people and animals.
Yeah, that's true.
I went back to my family and went, I've got this really cool job that looks excellent with massive prospects, pays really well. I have great promotional opportunities and I've won loads of awards. Yeah, I'm jacking it in because
I've just quit.
Right? I've just given my notice in. I'm going back to school. It's going to cost a fortune. I'm not eligible for student loans or grants. You couldn't get anything for this qualification. We're going to have to sell half the stuff we own to fund it. It's going to be all good, right? Because this is what I'm meant to be doing. And really, my family at this point, because no one else in the family had studied particularly, no one else had kind of professional aspirations. Everyone was very much 9 to 5. We're just like, oh, here we go again. What's she up to now? What's happening now?
The black sheep.
Yes, why do you always have to? Why can't you be satisfied with what you've got?
Do with what you have.
Why can't you? And I was constantly like, there's more out there. There's more. I haven't found my thing. And that started a 7-year study, but I knew I needed to get the hell out of there straight away. I wasn't gonna. So I went and retrained quite quickly to be a massage therapist. and remedial massage therapist. So a bit more than just, a fabulous rub, an actual, I can help you. And I could do that in just a few months. So I did that concurrently with the first year of my degree, whacked myself in a chiropractic clinic on the island, and then instantly worked as a therapist while I went through my 7 years of study. So it's 5 years to qualify as a human chiropractor, 2 years to be a veterinary chiropractor on top. And then that was it. And now the family, 20 odd years later, they've loved the freebies they've had over the last 20
I'm sure they have, yes.
So yeah, but it was the start on an absolutely fabulous and incredible career.
That's really cool. So chiropractic, I didn't know it took so long. 5 years is crazy. I mean, I guess that's 4 years degree, isn't it? And then
it's a 5-year degree. It's
5-year degree.
It's because there's an awful lot of medical stuff you have to know. I mean, I was explaining to a patient yesterday in clinic, the most important thing a chiropractor needs to know is when not to touch you.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
So that means that if when someone comes in for the first time and you do their medical history and you ask lots of questions about what's happening, you're doing something called differential diagnosis. So they're giving you all these signs and symptoms and presentation and history, and you're putting together this, jigsaw puzzle that says, is this a basic biomechanical problem, or is this potentially the start of something more serious, or actually something more serious? Which means I need to not touch you at all. I need to either get you to a GP, or I need to get you to a hospital, or I need to call an ambulance.
Wow, that is quite intense.
Yeah. So, but people don't realize that when they come in. They just come in, because most of the time you give yourself the green light. But I have called ambulances on patients. I have sent people straight up that have had someone with them with a cart straight up to the hospital. And every single one of them has been completely justified that there was something serious going on. And that's what you're doing is every time someone's coming in, you're doing a jigsaw puzzle to give yourself the green light to say, yes, I believe this is a basic biomechanical problem, and we can now proceed with the treatment. But in order to be able to do that, you have to have studied a lot of clinical medicine and other neurology. You have to study so much more than people realize to be able to have that knowledge, that it may just be a handful of people in your entire career, but those handful of people, if you didn't have that knowledge, you could have done serious harm to.
But how can you harm them if it's something? I mean, I'm presuming when you say send them to the hospital that they've got something with an organ, is that what you mean? Is that why
So a lady came in a few months ago. She came in with some back discomfort. I've treated her many times before, and then I'm like, how's the rest of you? And then she starts talking about a headache that she's had for 3 weeks. She hasn't come into me for the headache, she's come into me for the back. I start exploring a bit more about the headache, and it sets off alarm bells when she gives me more information about the headache. That headache could potentially be a bleed. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a big bleed, but it could be a small bleed. It was a what I would call an amber straight red flag description of the headache and the last 3 weeks of the headache. Now, if I was to then go and start checking her over and manipulate her, that could be quite serious if she's potentially had a small bleed. In which case you need to back the hell off and make sure that is checked out first. So she was sent out. Luckily it wasn't, she was fine, but those are the things that you have to just be very aware of, that what you could do with someone could be actually harmful. Or if someone presents with something that could perhaps be red flags or indicators for cancer or tumors, if someone's potentially got something that's a tumor on the spine and then you go and start manipulating them, that's really serious. So there's just a lot more involved. It was an incredibly hard journey. It's really hard when it's so long, because in the beginning you're quite excited. Around sort of year 4 or 5 you're realizing you're near the end, and year 3 you're like, bloody hell, I've been doing this for ages. I've still got ages to go. But I would never want to go through it again.
I'm sure.
I'm so glad I stuck it out, because there were quite a few people that bailed, and I'm glad I stuck it out.
Good. I'm glad you did too. That's fantastic. So do you do animals now, or is it just humans that you do?
No, the entire of my career, I've done humans and animals for the whole time. So I qualified as a veterinary chiropractor in 2006. And then my whole practice has been like a couple of days treating people, a couple of days treating animals. And that's how it's run for the last 15 years, predominantly horses and dogs, which is, ties in with my background of horses. But
Yeah.
also from a horse perspective, a lot of my idol clients, so to speak, who we talk about in my world as being a chiropractor, are horse riders, because I'm treating the rider, I'm treating the horse, I'm
Yeah.
treating the team, and we have a lot of competitive horse riders on the island, that some of them represent Great Britain in certain modalities, and it's a real honor to be able to one day be working with the rider and another day be trying to work with the horse, and making sure that together they're working at their optimum potential.
That's really cool. Wow.
Yeah.
So, as an actual physical profession,
Mm-hmm.
you must have been really hit with COVID.
Massively. Yeah.
So you
Massively.
had to close the therapy, obviously, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I was in complete denial. January, February, and most of March, I was in complete denial that it was going on around me, but it wasn't going on. It wasn't affecting me.
Yeah.
I very much at that stage was getting a bit fed up that things were being cancelled. But
Yeah.
it hadn't really become real until the day the government allowed us to stay open, but our governing bodies and insurances said not a chance, and they shut us down.
Oh, okay.
And we were allowed to stay open as primary healthcare, but our governing body said no. So obviously we had to respect that. And the day that I put the post out to say we are closing was devastating. And my husband came up to me and said, I was just at the computer putting the notices up saying like, we've got to close. And then it felt real. And my hubby came up to me and he was like, oh, do you want to go for a walk? Do you want to go and do this? And I was like, no, I don't. And I was like, I've just closed the clinic. Like, no. And I was really upset about it. And I was like, and I started crying, and I was like, shit, like we've just closed the clinic. This is really not good.
It's real. Yeah.
Really real. And then I've got the most amazing husband, and he said to me, what do you need me to do? And I said, right now, what I need you to have the kids. Yeah. I said, these were my actual words. I said, I need you to have the kids. I want to go to bed. I want to binge watch Netflix, and I want to eat crap. And I promise you, in 24 hours, I'll be okay. And he was like, if that's what you need, that's fine. He takes the kids out. I actually went upstairs with the intention of binging Netflix, but I couldn't, because now my brain was going. And then it was all about, right, you can't do this. So if you can't do that, but what can you do? And then the next morning I was like, okay, this is what it is. I can't do that. So I'm going to do this, because the realization that was within my community of therapists, obviously I created over the last couple of years to help with the business side. I was one person who'd shut my treatment room. In that community were another 1,000 at that point who had just done the same. And they were looking to me for guidance. They were looking to me for support. They were looking to me to say, what the hell do we do, Nikki? Like, they were all in panic, confusion and fear. And I was like, Nick, you need to step up. Like, you need to lead by example here. And that was it. I had my 24 hours feeling like crap. And then I was just reignited with, right, crack on now, girl. Let's see what you can do.
It's amazing, isn't it? Even if you're really low, if people are relying on you, it gives you a new energy. You haven't got a choice. You have to be the one that stands up and stays strong and says, right, come on, we're going to do this instead. That really helped you.
Really did. And I am quite lucky in the sense that I've worked hard on my mindset over the years. Life has chucked my own fair share of crap at me in the same way that it does a lot of people. And I've learned very much to find the silver cloud, and also really be aware that you cannot choose, you can't control what happens around you, but you can choose how you react to it. And that has very much been something that I follow. So I've been very lucky that I knew my mindset would get me out of it, but I allowed myself 24 hours to sit in my funk and absorb.
You're allowed to do that though, aren't you? I mean, everybody needs that sometimes, just to sit there and say, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to just sit here and do nothing for a day.
And the thing is, because if you don't, it will come and bite you on the backside at some point.
Yeah, of course it will. Yeah. So what did you do then to help your community?
So a couple of years ago, just to give your listeners a background, a couple of years ago when I was looking into, I've been hands-on for 20 plus years now, and it does come, I am carrying a few injuries from treating horses, etc. So I am naturally getting to the point where I realize that my hands-on practice may need to wind down in the foreseeable future. Months ago I started looking at how I could pivot. I know it's been a word that's been used a lot lately, but that's what I was doing, was pivoting my skills and knowledge that I'd gained into helping people. And I set up a community called the Profitable Couch, which was to help therapists and health and wellness professionals just like me, who were either just starting out in business or were struggling with their business, with the business side of things. Because ultimately, over 20 plus years, I've had my own practices. I've been an associate in practices. I've been mobile, I've been a partner. I've done all sorts of things of how I've run my practice. I've done that in the UK. I've done that abroad. And I've learned a lot, and I've invested a lot in learning. And I'm like, I can help people, because even now, when health and wellness professionals train to be therapists or train in their thing, they barely get any business training at all.
Yeah.
Still now, they get given their certificate, sent out into the big wide world, and a lot of these incredible people crash and burn because they haven't been given the business side. So that was the community that was at like 1,000 people when we went into lockdown. And I suddenly was found with this community going, what do we do? So the first thing I did a couple of things. The first thing is I allowed them to acknowledge that it was okay to feel all the emotions that they were feeling. And we held a week in there called TLC week.
Okay.
And it was basically just to acknowledge, because we very much only talk about the business side of stuff in there. It's quite strategy and mindset based. But this was a time when I was like, right now, what these guys need is they need a big giant hug, right?
Yeah.
That's what I felt they needed. But me going boom, boom, right, let's get strategy. That was not what they needed in that moment. They felt shocked. They felt vulnerable. So we held this week of TLC work where we just allowed everyone to just absorb what they were feeling. And some of the therapists came in and ran sessions in the group, live sessions on whether it was meditation or breath work or yoga and we just allowed everyone to just absorb.
That's really
and
cool.
That was really, really powerful to just say, look, just feel it. And then then I'm like, okay. But then I was like, right, you've had your feeling time now. Now we need to crack on, because everybody had a mindset that their business was closed. And I had to try and re-educate them that the only thing that was closed was the treatment room door. Their business was not closed. Their business was very much open. It just needed to look a bit different. So your patients and clients still needed help, advice, and guidance. They still need that. They just can't get it in the treatment room. And it was trying to get people to embrace the fact that the only thing that was closed was a treatment room door, and that they needed to work out how to deliver that same level of support guidance in the online space, which for a lot of them was huge. So we had the TLC week. Then we went on to an online, I was having an online, I had a live event planned in May. The Profitable Couch live. It was my first live event with this community in Birmingham. But obviously that got cancelled. And I was pretty gutted because I had some really cool speakers coming in. I had 5 people within my network that were coming in to speak. And then I was like, well, what the hell? Let's bring it online. Launched the 2-day Profitable Couch live summit. So I created a 2-day summit with 12 speakers. It was completely live. It was like doing some kind of summit-a-thon. Like I was up and down the stairs in this attic, doing live stuff, doing all the tech stuff, running. I had like 10-minute wee break in between, and then I was back up. But the energy, and all of a sudden when people heard about the summit, the group grew by 400 people, because so many people were in need of guidance and how to navigate this. And the summit was the most incredible thing over 2 days, and I will definitely do it again in the future. So I did the summit, and then I realized that there was a small group of people that needed a little bit extra or wanted a bit extra. So then I opened my membership. which I
Mm.
had no intention of doing just yet, but I brought the whole thing forward, opened the membership. So then the VIP Couch membership was formed, with an incredible, all about empowering women through business. And then I sat there going, do you know what? I need to do more. How can I reach more people? How can I reach more people? And then I was like, all these things I had down the line, excellent. Let's do it now. Let's open the podcast. Let's launch the podcast. I'm in an attic. I've got headphones. I've got a microphone. The only thing that stands in my way is me. And then we launched the Profitable Couch podcast. And it was incredible. It's been an incredible, I've got to look back and say over lockdown and say, I could have sat on my backside and gone, well, that's a bit crap. Let's just wallow. And I'm so grateful for the years I put into my mindset, because my mindset was what got me through this.
But think of all the Netflix you've missed.
I know, it's gutting, isn't it? I must admit, I did have a little binge watch the other day. In the evening, once the kids have gone to bed, I get a couple of something in.
Yes, yeah, well, you've got to, haven't you? That's absolutely an amazing story about, I mean, those poor people. I can just imagine. I mean, when you're working in a capacity where you're speaking to people, it's a lot easier to take it online. But when you're working and you're actually physically with them, touching them, that's quite a big blow to actually have to stop that, isn't it?
Yeah. And people are then, I only know how to do that. I only know how to be hands-on. So that was a massive educational thing that I needed to help people get over. But also on the other side, on a financial side, it was for people to be able to realize that perhaps their business model wasn't as secure as they thought, because if their only income comes from being in the treatment room and now they can't be in the treatment room, that's worrying, that's vulnerable. What if you break your wrist? What if you do that? And I beat them, put me out of the clinic for a year. And that happened on the morning I was about to go into clinic, and boom, I'm in the back of an ambulance, and I never went back into that treatment room for a year. And I had most of my eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
So that was the fallout of that financially was pretty catastrophic. I mean, we nearly lost the house. We managed to keep it, but it was a huge wake-up call to me to say, Nikki, you earn a really good income from that treatment room, but you are totally stuffed when you can't be in there.
Yeah.
So when this came, when lockdown came in and we closed the treatment room, yes, of course, that stopped one of my income streams. But because I learned from that first time, that wasn't my only income stream. So I was in a much better place than I could have been. And I wanted to use that experience to say, like, you guys are getting the wake-up call that I got a few years ago. So moving forward now with them, it's very much about trying to get them to look at the bigger picture of additional income streams, to not be quite so vulnerable.
That's perfect. Because like I say, if you can't physically do it because you hurt your wrist or you hurt back or something like that, then you are, like you say, you're screwed, aren't you? You've nothing to fall back on.
And if you earn a good income, like, I earn a good income. I'm a professional medical, primary healthcare practitioner. I've earned my was off for that year. And then they went, that's great. You can have £70 ESA a week. How's that going to pay my mortgage? So yeah, I'm hoping that for a lot of people, not just my guys, but for a lot of people, lockdown has had wonderful times, as in, I've also got to spend some incredible time with my family. But I hope it's held a lot of people to be able to look at their life, their work, whatever, their vision, their future, their dreams, and actually put a few things in perspective and actually think, I do need to either make some changes, or I do need to pursue stuff that perhaps I didn't have the courage to do, and now I need to do it, because life is short.
It is, yeah. And I agree completely. I think lockdown, I know a lot of bad stuff's happened, but it actually has been a blessing in many respects. Like I say, spending more time with the family and taking things slower, and not have to, because when you're rushing around all the time, you don't have time to think rationally about anything, because you know one thing from one place to the next, and you've got to be able to step back and reassess things at certain times, and you can't keep going on racing around for the rest of your life, can you?
You're absolutely right. I think lockdown has and we've been incredibly lucky, and I want to put it in perspective that we've been very lucky in that the whole virus thing has not affected us personally, and so we've been, as in, our health and wellness has been wonderful, and I know that that's, you know, we are very lucky when other people have had a very different journey through that.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I don't want to discredit that people haven't been as lucky to have that, but if you have been in a position where you haven't been directly health wise affected by it, I think it's really given people an insight into their own mindset. I mean, I've had some therapists now, it's been quite interesting, some therapists have said to me, I feel in a bit of a funk now. And I'm like, why? And they're like, because I now look back, even though I kept saying, I don't want you guys to look back on this period of time and go, I wish I'd done X, Y, and Z. And
Mm.
a lot of them really embraced it. Loads of them stepped up and went, no, you're right. I have got a business to run and I need to serve my people. And they've got really creative, teaching people how to do self-massage or doing Zoom telehealth calls and stuff like that. And they've really got creative. But there are a few now that, just due to their mindset, I think are saying to me now, I really didn't. Now I'm going back into the treatment room, I really didn't make the best use of that time. And so for me, it doesn't matter. You can have all the business strategy in the world. You can have the Bible of business strategy. If your head is not in the right place, it won't make a blind bit of difference.
No, because you're not going to put into practice what you learn. Exactly. Yeah.
The head's got to come first.
Yeah, it has. Yeah. Well, the heart actually, but the heart leads the head anyway, so it doesn't really matter, does it?
Let's put them together. Exactly. I mean, if you're not doing any of this from the heart, then you're in the wrong place, aren't you?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
So, well, that has been absolutely amazing. I can't believe the difference that it's made to your business. And like you say, you've got so many streams now and different ways of helping people that aren't clients, that aren't patients as such. You've reached out and helped so many other people that maybe you wouldn't have done otherwise. So
it's been truly wonderful. I mean, even going back into clinic now, it's so lovely. We've had a lot of new people coming in who have struggled over lockdown. That's wonderful. But we've also had a lot of people who have been, of our own patients that have been struggling over lockdown, that are so grateful to be back and to actually be helping. And then obviously seeing the therapists that I've been working with over the last few months going back into the treatment room with this renewed kind of enthusiasm for their work, and actually quite a lot of them who added on in, you know, online based services are keeping them because they're realizing that through that they can help more people as well. So it's such a domino effect. I've been able to help more people and inspire them to be able to look at ways to help more people, and that's the wonderfulness of a really positive ripple effect.
Perfect. That's great. So if my listeners want to get in touch with you or find out more about you, how can they find you on the big web?
On the big web, where they can find me on my new website, which has only went live last week, which is very exciting. I've had a shift over, so they can find me at www.nikkicp.com and find out, learn a little bit more about me, what I do in my work, what I do out in Uganda, what I do with all my staff, and they can and see there. And it would be lovely if anyone is listening to this and they are a health and wellness professional, they'd be very, very welcome to come and connect with the Profitable Couch community as well. Just look us up on Facebook.
Perfect. And just actually, you just mentioned the Uganda thing. Can you tell us a bit more about that? Because I know you do, it's a charity, isn't it, that you work with over there?
It's my charity.
Oh, it's your charity.
My charity. It's just me. It's my
That's
little
awesome.
baby. So a few years ago, I went traveling. I have got the travel bug. We plan traveling a lot. We're just planning our next traveling adventures. And I've always wanted to go to Africa. And when I was there, this was back in 2007, I was very inspired that I could do some good out here. So I launched the Africa Children's Development Trust back in 2007. And then I also lived in Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo for 5 years. I had a chiropractic clinic in Uganda. And from 2007, right up to today, whether I'm here or in Uganda, I have a primary school out there in the slums of Kampala. And I run several projects to do with mosquito nets and malaria prevention. And I run a really wonderful, my most passionate project is Chrysalis Uganda, which is I fund women living in the slums to start their own businesses. Or to help grow their businesses, to help them work their way out of poverty and be able to support their families. So that taps into my old banking life, but it also taps into my own personal story of my childhood and growing up. So really embracing women's empowerment, which is really important to me. And obviously business is really important to me. And if women can feel can become independently successful and learn how to run a little business that can generate enough income to put a roof over their heads, get their children into school, and support them and work them towards some goals and dreams and aspirations. And that's amazing. And I'm very, very passionate about that. Unfortunately, when I'm here now, I'm in Uganda 3 or 4 times a year, and I run the rest of the projects from here. And I'm not here, but yeah, it's my little bit of good in the world, and it's very, very precious to me.
That sounds amazing. So can people donate to that charity? Is that through your website?
Yeah, the website is chrysalisuganda.org. And they can see there is a link from my website as well, because I give a percentage of my coaching work goes straight into the charity as well.
Perfect. That's amazing. So thank you very much for your time, and hopefully this is all recorded perfectly well because of the
I think it will. There might just be a few little sound blips, but it's going to be absolutely fine.
I do hope so. Well, thank you so much for your time, Nikki. I really appreciate it.
That's lovely, Tara. Thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Happy, Inspired, Motivated podcast. I'll be back next week bringing more meditation, mindset and motivation for your happy and successful life. To find out more about our community, go to tarachatzakis.com/happy, inspired, motivated.